Busking, also known as street theater, is a tradition seen in many large cities, a form of theater that can take many shapes and sizes, and an art form that has been going on for hundreds of years. Today I will be giving a brief history of street theater, explaining early forms of street theater, how busking morphed its way into the performances we are more familiar with today, the importance of areas such as Covent Gardens and their influence in street performing, and how buskers work today. The exact time that street performers emerged is rather dodgy, but there's evidence of street performers during the medieval times. However, they were not referred to as street performers or even buskers. Minstrels were the early version of busking. Now, although one might stop and think, that isn't true, minstrels performed in court. That is very true. However, they were eventually replaced with troubadours. So what is a poor minstrel to do? Take to the street. Minstrels are very like the performers you would find in a tube station today. Simple folk who play music and tell story with their music. Another arguable form of street theater could be cycle plays. Cycle plays were traveling stages that depicted biblical events or other morality plays. The most striking similarity to the cycle plays and busking today is the pick-up-and-go format. Buskers never stay in one place for long, nor did the cycle plays of the medieval and Renaissance days. As time progressed, buskers will begin to frequent certain areas more and more. Taverns, inns, streets, and of course, markets. Markets are quite popular as they are filled with a multitude of people, meaning a higher chance of earning money. Regular acts will begin to form. One well-known act that has a shop in Covent Gardens named for it is the Punch and Judy Act from the 17th century, first noted by good old Samuel Pepys, that we first heard mentioned during our time with Ingrid. Pepys mentioned seeing a Punch and Judy show in the Covent Garden area. These puppet shows became incredibly popular throughout the Edwardian and Victorian periods. There would be a professor who controlled the puppets, who performed a commedia dell'arte style sketches, and afterwards the actor would take donations in a bottle, coining the term bottling, which is still used today. Today, busking is still alive and well, and is much more streamlined. During my observations in the UK, I took notice of the street performers in London, Bath, Stratford, and Edinburgh. There are multitudes of buskers in London. Bath had a fair amount as well. Stratford and Edinburgh, not so much. So now I will explain how busking works today, and how it differs in a large city, such as London, compared to a smaller one like Bath. First, I'd like to mention the two of the most common forms of busking, circle performances and walk-bys. Walk-bys are the most common. These come often in the form of musicians. These performances you do not need to stop to notice and appreciate. Circle performances are the escape artists, the stunt artists, or any other form in which a large crowd is gathered, often in a circle, hence the name. Now in London you will find all forms of buskers. Circle performers will frequent areas like Covent Gardens or maybe Trafalgar Square more than, say, the Tube. In Bath, however, there were mostly musician buskers with the occasional acrobat/juggler or pigeon man. A more unique act indeed. The organization of busking also varies from town to town. In London there is a process to be allowed to busk, especially in the Tubes or Covent Gardens. I spoke to a few buskers during my trip, and the one in London, while hurriedly taking down their equipment, stressed very much how this was her job. There were auditions and permits to obtain so that her group could perform in a specific corner of Covent Gardens on a specific day at a specific time each week. But as soon as that time was up, they needed to get out of there, because if we stick around, the next person's gonna get pissed, she said. However, in a city like Bath, it is much more relaxed. I asked a young accordion player about the spots in town, in which he told me, there are no permits required to perform in Bath. The only requirement is that you cannot stay in one spot for longer than an hour. And I observed this to be true. Every hour or so, the performers all moved to new locations. However, they did not seem pissy if someone was still in their spot. I observed as a guitar player came to set up shop where the accordionist was finishing up. He was very kind and told the young man that he could play another song if he wanted. After he was done, the guitar player commented on how much he enjoyed his music. It was so nice to see that, in Bath at least, these artists are still able to perform with the support of other buskers and not competition. Now, of course, busking is not busking if they're not bottling. During my time, I made sure to also ask performers why they performed. I asked someone in London and someone in Bath. and their answers were quite different. The London busker was very professional, not unkind, but very professional. "This is how I pay my rent," she informed me. She was a part of a musical ensemble who were playing music and selling CDs for £10. She did inform me that playing in the garden also helped advertise them, and that's how they got asked to play at weddings and other gigs, due to their exposure in the garden. However, an acrobat/juggler in Bath gave me a completely different answer. When I asked him why he was a street performer, he made sure to inform me that he doesn't do this for a living. "I'm actually perform with a partner," he told me. "I'm from Sweden and I'm a student. I'm just here to make extra money during the summer." So depending on where you are, busking may or may not be your income, or it could be just an extra way to get cash. The world of busking is very interesting, and I must say it was fun to observe and learn the different forms and intent of the buskers in the UK. This concludes my project on the importance of being a busker.